Hey guys, what's up? It's coming back to ya with another episode of Walk Switch and no, I said I was gonna continue talking about what I was talking about last time. Wait, no, that don't make sense, because that would have been last time, which that's not what I said. What I said was last time I was gonna finish what I was talking about this time. That's what I mean to say. I gotta change plans though, because I'm just thinking of something else now that I've probably said before, but I think maybe I'm gonna say it in a better way now. Not sure how much sense that makes, but I'll just toss it out there anyway. So my perception of time and just the way that I experience life, I think it's so much more different than most people. And I've tried to explain it before. I may have said it in a better way than I think I did, but the way I'm realizing and thinking of now is this way that is something like this. It's like, for me, one day may be equivalent to like a week for a regular person, because in one day, like I'm doing webinars, I'm doing shows, I'm working my job, I'm doing my webinar and show during my break. No, I'm obviously exaggerating a little bit, but you get what I'm saying. I'm just talking about like a mental, keeping it thought based, like the amount of thoughts that go through a person's head in a day, the amount of concepts that a person thinks about and understands, the amount of information a person learns and processes. And I do all this stuff on a fairly regular basis. Now, I have my dumb days. I have my days where there's not much going on. But honestly, I still even think those days, like, I think I'm usually learning something. If I really had to be honest. I mean, I'm not really sure how to gauge it, because, I can't be in another person's mind. So it's pretty difficult, like, for me to, I don't know, figure that out, like what the actual answer is. So, but anyways, I have my dumb days, but I feel like most people, it's like most of their day is they learn because they're in school, and they work because they're on their job, and then when they're not in school or on their job, they're not working and they're doing something quote unquote fun, and like that's kind of it. Now, some people, and I would believe my guess of this is a minority, they might check on the news, they may have some kind of minority percentage of their time is spent on something something a bit more productive, like politics, for example. But there's a caveat there, because some people, they're dealing with what I would call nonfiction fiction, or actually probably a better way to say that would be fiction nonfiction, where the political content that they're consuming is actually entertainment in disguise, because it could be incorrect information, or it may not really be that productive. It may just be kind of reinforcing potentially incorrect beliefs that you already have. So, it's not really productive, even though it may feel productive. So at the end of the day, like, most people in their daily lives, they don't really process much. And in comparison to where I see things in my perspective. And this is because obviously with technology, with the advent of technology, we are overloading the human brain in a way that was not really supposed to be possible. I mean, the amount of information that we process on a daily basis is extremely high. The human brain was never really supposed to do that. So you do have some people like me who, I don't know, were just able to process a lot of language, and in my case even speak a lot of language to this like insane degree, and even have decent, and I say decent because even my memory recall, it's kind of a weak muscle sometimes. Like I was always trying to do the TLDRs with schla, and it doesn't really go through. But a lot of people are just relatively average, because really being able to speak, being able to communicate never really mattered that much for most of human history until like, I don't even know, what, like 1,000 years ago? Maybe, but even 1,000 years ago, like, it wasn't really that important. Even 400 years ago, or when Shakespeare was hot, you know, when Shakespeare was hot, like, I guess literature started becoming hot, like during those days, but it still didn't really matter. Like, I mean, most people still weren't really literate. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean when I say, like, it just didn't really matter that much. You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't. Things didn't really matter at all to the same, like, degree that it does now, where now it's like with the internet, with a cell phone, if you're good at navigating language and being able to know what to say, and especially with the advent of AI, it multiplies all those things like by multitudes. I mean, the people who can come up with fresh ideas, who can come up with words, who know how to say things properly, can take that, spit it into an AI. AI can extrapolate it further, and you can really have the potential to basically give yourself self-therapy in a way that really shouldn't be possible, you know? And I think it's interesting because oftentimes people see it as a bad thing, but I actually think it's possible. It's just not possible for most people, because for most people, like, they need a real therapist. Like, they can't, for most people, even if you gave them a real therapist, that's still not even enough. So, but in the case of someone like me, yeah, I got a lot to sift through, but I also got a lot to talk about. And if I do these rants and I keep pasting them in GPT, and like over time listening to what GPT says, then I do another rant, then I paste that in GPT. You see what I'm saying? Over time, that actually is a very, very effective self-therapy. It's just not something that most people actually do. So at the end of the day, it's not a feasible expectation for the population level, sadly, which is why it's a bit cruel when companies fire all their employees and say, hey, you know, here, just we'll give you a free trial for this AI. You can, you know, talk to them about your problems and get better. Like, most people, I don't think, are at the capacity to do that, even if some people definitely are. But the people who are, I mean, I think it's probably, I don't even know if it's 10%. It may be more like 5%. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know if it's 5. What I'm trying to get at is my perception of time. It's very different. It's very different compared to the average person. For me, I would say like one day for me is like a week for an average person. I would even go as far as to say one day for me is like a month for an average person. I would even go as far as to say that one day could be like 3 months for an app. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't know which of those metrics is accurate, but it doesn't really matter because it paints the picture of what I'm trying to say. The amount of data that I am able to process, but most importantly, process and remember and glean something from it, because there's a lot of people that, you know, they constantly got a podcast in their ear all day, but it's like at the end of the day, do they actually remember anything? Did they actually learn anything? And yeah, I don't remember a super large percentage of what I take in, because like I take in a lot, but it's not short form content, it's long form content that I take in. I remember a lot of it, I glean a lot from it, and most people can't say the same. And this is just my regular routine for the most part. I mean, you know, some days, like I said, Some days I have my down days. Sometimes I have my dumb days. But for most people, it's like every day's a dumb day. You see what I'm saying? And so, yeah, this is big problems. It's big problems because it's not efficient. But if your toes aren't being held to the fire, then you're not gonna get anywhere. You know, people are just gonna go with whatever society decides. That was another thought I was having today, where it's like I don't really think many people can properly understand where they're at in the world, whether what they're doing is fair, whether what they're doing or not is just, whether what they're doing or not is ethical. I think people just do whatever they do. They make whatever money they make. They do what they can to make more. And the haves just take life as surface value. And the have-nots, they probably also take life relatively. I don't even know if the have-nots, now of course, the have-nots are more upset, because obviously if you're a have-not, you're going to be stung much more than the haves, because the haves, I just worked hard, you know, when a lot of times it's more about luck than work. See what I'm saying? And so I don't think anybody can really quantify that properly. I don't think there's any incentive to, because again, when you quantify things properly, it's very demotivating, because you kind of see the true nature of the world and how it's like it's mostly luck based. A lot is unfair. There's not really equal opportunity given to people. And yeah, there's just a lot of flaws with the way the system is set up, and we have to try to, I think we have to try to fix it, but I guess some people don't even care about fixing it, because again, they can't really even quantify what the problem is. Like, I talk to a lot of people, and anytime I start talking about this stuff, I can tell that their knowledge of the economy, or their knowledge of society, or how culture works, or how societies even function, how civilizations function, a lot of people, they just have very biased opinions about it. They have very incomplete opinions about it, and there's just not much going on. But that being said, they act like they're an expert, and they like to talk down to me, because I let them, because it's like, I don't care to be arrogant, because I know that myself, I know I'm incomplete. You know, I'm only in my 20s. But the thing is, other people are so much more incomplete. Like, other people basically got a crumb, but they act like they're dealing with the whole loaf of bread. You know what and they're arrogant about it, and they think they're like a king. You know what I'm saying? They think they're the whole loaf. They're not even a slice. You know what I'm saying? I think I'm more like a slice. I got a lot of good information. I shoot wrong though. It's like whatever. I move, I grow. Like I said, one day for me is like a month for the average person. So after a month in my time, that's like 3 years of an average person. You see what I'm saying? So after that, yeah, I might change a lot in a couple months. I might have had, a couple months ago on the show, I might have really been thinking we need to seize property. We need to end private property. But then I talk to the AI about it. I have discussions every week, every day, every month. And then now it's like, okay, maybe a hybrid model is better. See what I'm saying? That change happened in the course of a few months. Whereas for a regular person, if they were like a hardcore capitalist, it may take them 2 decades to become a communist, and then another 2 decades to go back to being a capitalist. You see, like, it takes people so much time, because in between they're like playing video games, and they're like, I don't even know what, twiddling their thumbs, they're like eating dirt, playing with ants. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what I'm trying to say is like, you got to think about it from this way. And it's true. I mean, I wanted to clarify and preface, there's nothing arrogant about it. I know it sounds arrogant because there's that thing in the Bible about how, like, one day for man, or 100 years for man is just like a day for God. And so it seems blasphemous because I'm saying, like, my time perception is that drastic. But it's definitely not that. Like, well, first of all, before we get into that, well, actually, yeah, it's definitely not. It's not at God's. I'm sure God's level, God would run laps around me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say all that. But the second thing I'm saying is it's torturous, man. It's torturous to have that mind that I have when it comes to friendships, when it comes to when it comes to friendships, when it comes to relationships, because I'm running on a high level. I'm running on a high horsepower. And I've talked about this before. In addition to the time being different, like my mind, my car I'm driving, it's got brakes that stop quick. It's got a throttle that goes quick. Whereas other people, like, they're rocking like 80 horsepower with a throttle that's got like some delay, and like their tires are worn, they got no traction. You know what I'm saying? So that coupled with that, and it sounds like what I'm saying is arrogant. It sounds arrogant. It's not. It is torturous. It is torturous to be a part of this world and to be far from the median. It has not really brought me any joy up to this point. Now, at some point, it's possible in a decade maybe I'll finally be able to utilize my brain properly. But for most of my life, I was a mess. I was confused. I was thinking I was a loser and I was like worse than everybody else. And I just thought that I was the dumb one because that's what everybody told me. But I kind of realize now, like, that's just not, it's just that I move so fast when it comes to friendships, when it comes to relationships. I move so fast because I'm moving fast. You know what I mean? But other people, it's like they move very slow. So I seem crazy to them. I seem so crazy. But like, I'm actually not even crazy. Like, I'm actually fine. I'm like more normal. It's just that my normal, it's at a much faster rate that I learn information. Like, boom, boom, boom. I feel like I'm usually ahead of the game when it comes to a lot of this stuff about like the future, and people just, they always laugh and they always criticize my ideas about the future, but then the future comes and look who was more right. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the kind of thing that happened. But yeah, to say it's from a place of arrogance, it's definitely not from a place of arrogance. Like, it has not been a overly positive thing for me. For most of my life, fairly recently, I'm finally starting to be a little bit kinder to myself. I'm trying to be nicer to myself. I'm trying to be grateful for the mind that I've been given. But honestly, for most of my life, I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to be stupider, and I wanted to be able to have less thoughts and move at a slower pace like everybody else. So I'm not saying this from a place of arrogance. It's like I'm just trying to understand myself better. But I have a feeling if I said it to people, or if people hear this in a video, they just hear it and then they've already like left a comment about how I'm a narcissist, and then they're already gone. And that's like what I feel like happens when I debate with people, is like I'll say a paragraph and then the person like only understands or really reads a sentence, and then they just complain about and argue that, and then they don't even understand like the rest of what I said, but they don't even care, and then they just like, they start arguing with me, and then they type like a sentence to my paragraph, and then I type another paragraph, and then they still only got a sentence, but they still act like arrogant about it. Like, they still act like I'm crazy, and I'm literally not crazy. Like, half the time these people are just like low-key wrong, and I'm just trying to be nice, like, but then they'll start calling me names. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy. But yeah, I think that's gonna have to be a wrap for it, sadly. But I'm happy that I've been able to do Walk, Switch, Law. I don't really know how much longer I will be able to. I think tomorrow looks good, but you never know. Mother Nature, she's unpredictable. Mother Nature is unpredictable. But I'm so happy to finally be back in the trenches doing my show, because, like, I missed it. I think I really missed doing walk switch slaw. It's a shame that I can't do it, and I don't know what's going to happen in the summer, because that's just going to be a disaster with how hot it gets in the summer. I hate the summer, and so we're kind of in my season right now, but, I don't know, maybe the fall's more my, like, kind of when we did walk switch slaw, that was kind of the peak. But anyways, I'm rambling at this point. It's been Schla, and it's time to buy Schla. So, see ya, Schla.